Welcome to another show of Cafecito with Rosie on Aire, live from 24N Studio in downtown Tampa. This is where we share leading with a servant heart. That is the ñuque, what I call, or spirit, to continue for you to endurance and succeed. And today I have one of my wonderful friends that has been doing an amazing job here in Tampa, Tommy Whitehead. Hi, Tommy.
Hi, Rosie.
You?
How are you doing?
All right, all right. So let's start with who is Tommy, what do you do, and how do you help the community?
Okay, so again, as Rosie said, my name is Tommy Whitehead. I primarily am a licensed contractor here in the state of Florida. So my daily job might be something like renovating your kitchen, or building an ADU. Those are very popular right now. Additions, and when it gets to storm season, we deal with disasters as well. So we can come back and fix your house and bring it back to normal and help you work with the insurance company because it's a very stressful situation.
Yeah.
I also am co-owner in an AI company. And so our AI company is focused on AI technology and construction.
Right.
Yeah, so about 40% of the workforce in construction is retiring in the next 6 years, and we don't have enough people to replace them.
Yes.
So it's a very invasive problem that we have to solve by getting more people in the workforce, but we also have to be more efficient in the workforce. So our AI program isn't taking people's jobs, it's taking the mundane little tasks off of people that we don't have people to do right now. So I also am founder of the Pride Construction Coalition to advocate for LGBT diversity in the construction trades. We want to make that more inclusive. We are working on some affordable housing initiatives right now here in the city of Tampa, some stuff to come. And then we have
an author
I'm
of
an
your
author.
amazing book.
Building Success, the Toolbox, coming out on top. I just launched this a little while ago. It's already been an Amazon bestseller in pre-sales, so pretty excited about that. And then, if I wasn't busy enough, we announced a school initiative. So in the next 3 years, we want to launch a charter school for the trades. These are sending kids to a public high school to get their public education, but lining them up so that when they graduate this school, that they can go and be an apprentice for a plumber, for an electrician, for an HVAC, for a roofer, because we have to start taking that stigma off of the trades. It's not a get dirty job, it's a get something done job. And there are plumbers billing the same hourly rate as attorneys right now.
Right. I mean, people don't understand that we focus so much on sending the kids to school, to college, and trade went down the side. And now we're having things that we cannot construct, and we don't have enough people that have the experience and the apprentice to learn by the experience because everybody's retiring on that. So I'm amazing. I'm so proud of Tommy and what you have done. And as you can see, he's very approachable. Because one of the things is when you see a construction, especially a general contractor, you just think this person is not approachable and things like that. But Tommy has come to my house, gave me a whole estimate of what would be to build my house. So he has small projects, but at the same time, he also has big projects. But leading with a servant heart, Tommy, and that I think is some of the stuff that you talk in your book, especially here in Tampa. How did you find out that correlates with your business?
Well, I give back just to give back. So I grew up pretty poor, and I grew up here in Florida. And so I've had amazing opportunities since, but not because they were given to me, because I had to earn them.
Right.
And so I believe in volunteering and putting things back into the community. So I volunteer on the board of directors for the Tampa Club. I volunteer for the philanthropy committee for the Tampa Club. I work with an organization called the Bay Area Bridge Builders, which connects profit nonprofits. I help out the Florida Aquarium, bringing them connections and contacts. I've worked with many, many other charities. LSF here is another one that I've helped with fundraising and drives for. And so it's important to me to give back because I was given to at one point. And I believe that it is necessary for me to give that back to the community, what I received. And hopefully that'll lift somebody else up for them to be able to give it to somebody else in a future generation.
And one of those things that I think makes Tampa so special is because when you're helping, other people want to help.
Exactly.
And so tell me a little bit about your book launch. That I drove all the way from Seven Hills to St. Petersburg. It was about an hour and a half, but I had to do it for Tommy. But he had so many people that they were there to root for you, to support you, because you are doing so much. Tell me a little bit about that, and how did that came about, and how did that make you feel?
So, I had a lot of tragedy the last few years. My mother passed away a few years ago. A year after that, a close friend of a decade passed away. I had a lot of stories to tell, and I would meet a lot of people, and I would tell them how I lost myself in 2020, like so many of us did. And I would be meeting with people with $2,000 suits, and they would lean over and they say, "Tommy, you know, we have the same thing. We lost everything."
Right.
And so I found myself relatable, and then somebody says, "Hey, you got to write a book." And I'm like, "No, I don't need to write a book." I ended up doing it because it was some cool stories. It was like the most expensive form of therapy I think you could ever go through. And so I just wanted to tell people that, you know, look at the success I have today, but I had to go through a lot of failure and learning from that. And so fast forward, I wanted to have it done by my 40th birthday party, which is June 1st. I was just gonna have a little party and a little book launch. And then people are like, no, let's make it a big thing.
Yeah.
And so we turned it into a 3-day networking summit,
Yes.
taking people diving in the aquarium tank, taking people in yachts and high-end cars. We had vendor fairs, we had food and open bars, we had panelists, 15 panelists. We had a large showing because I didn't want the Building Success book to be about me. It's always been about everybody else and how they can build their success. I'm just not as embarrassed to talk about the failures I had to go through.
Right.
Almost all of us have to go through those failures, but we're all so ashamed to even talk about basic things that we all go through, which just perpetuates that. And so I want to bring it out and say, hey, you know, I goofed up on these things and here how I push forward, and don't let it hold you back.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand, but there is a saying that I learned on the Slight Edge, which just says, successful people fail their way to the top. A lot of people just see when you are succeeding in their eyes, of course, right? Because we succeed in every single day. Every single day, we keep learning something new, especially leaders, right? But that is the thing. They say, oh, they never went through all this stuff. Oh my God, come on. You know, you never know the story. And by you being relatable, authentic, you have integrity, people are going to say, oh, I'm going to, you know, he has the same story. He's talking to me. And that has improved your business. That has increased your business too, because now the barrier of, oh, he's trying to sell me something and I don't know how much that's going to cost me. It just gets broken down because of the relativity and the connection that you have with that person.
It does. People want to come up and just chat and meet. And then they'll put in a construction question and ask something, and I just answer it. I really don't sell anymore. People come to me for education, and I educate them, and some of them turn to clients, and some of them are just better educated if they do select another vendor, decide not to go through with their project. But I don't want to go, and you've seen this, I don't come in and aggressively and try to get you to sign today. I give you all the information so you feel comfortable. And if it's for you, that is, because one of the worst things you can do is sign a client that's not ready, because it becomes very difficult to manage that relationship and expectations. And no matter what you do, the client will not be happy.
Yeah, and it's going to cost you time, money, resources, headaches. So just I think the most freeing experience when I started owning my business was firing my first client. It's just, again, she didn't trust what I was doing. She kept on flipping policies from one to another one. She said, I'm so new at this that I need to learn. I said, well, no, it's not about being new. It's about you not trusting me. And this relationship between you and I as health insurance and your Medicare is about you trusting me that I have given you the best information and the plan that suits your needs. And when she says, yeah, I understand that, but she kept doing it. So I was like, yeah, it was really empowering when I fired that first client. So yes. And I know you wanted to write a book. You said no, but who recommended you to?
So, of course, that was you, as you know. So, and I'm actually meeting with Shirley right after this. Fun fact, when I was touring the Tampa Club, I thought it wouldn't be a place for me, but I just thought I had to do some things differently in my business a few years ago. And Rosie was the very first member that I met at the Tampa Club, and she was the personification of everything I thought the club was not. So she actually proved me wrong just by a conversation with her and her husband. And I joined the club that day because of that. And I made sure to make that known. And Rosie and I have been friends ever since because you definitely personify being there. You don't sell things. You never come to me and say, oh, what's your grandma, what program is she on? Nope, you answer questions, you're good to go. And it makes it easy to refer you because I know you're never going to push anybody.
Yeah. And see, the Tampa Club is just this amazing place, like no other place in Tampa. There's many other clubs, but there is the saying that we love Fabricio also, and he came up with this saying where friends become, when members become friends and friends become family, and that's what we are. To me, it's my family. To me, he's another brother that I have that I can call when I have question. And that education, again, he's not holding back on the information, because at the end of the day, that information that is meeting somebody's needs is actually what's going to attract your paying tribe and the people that want to do business with you. So it's not about selling, it's about leading with a servant heart, which is, again, some of the things that we always talk about in the mindset. So you growing up poor, you probably had some things in your mindset that you grew up with that you thought that was normal, and you probably needed to have some come to Jesus moment yourself and understand, I grew up like this, but that doesn't mean that that's how I have to continue my life. How do you get to that?
So it kind of started in middle school. So I went to a poor elementary school with most of the kids who were about the same means of me. There were some people that had some nicer things, but we were all basically in a very rural area, most of us in mobile homes. And my first chapter in my book is my backpack told me I was poor.
Oh.
And so I went to a charter school. It was the first year in the state of Florida, it was in the 90s, the first year that a charter school was allowed. And so it's like, for those of you that aren't familiar, it's like a private school, but no tuition. So it's harder to get into, you have to apply, and you have to meet certain other requirements to stay in the school, but you don't pay tuition as you would with a private school. So generally the educational opportunities are better. And so I got into school and I started realizing that everybody had the fancy JanSport backpack and I had the Kmart backpack or the Walmart backpack. Everybody had the fancy Nike shoes and I had the Kmart shoes. So I started really realizing at that point, wow, there's a lot of differences. It makes you feel very insecure, especially in middle school when you're already insecure about everything. Puberty is, one of the worst things ever.
You almost then you wonder why you want to kill those kids.
Exactly. And it wasn't probably until my mid-20s I started to get more comfortable. I was more professional. I'd gone through some college, got my associate's degree, and then saw myself coming up, like I had put in the hard work to do it, and get a little better. But, you still have this, am I good enough mindset?
Right.
And then I start networking and meeting with a lot of other professionals. And then when I realized they privately share with me, again, we used to manage 1,100 people, and in 2020, it went down to 13. I had to sell my house. I had to do this. I had to lose my car. A lot of people went through all these tragedies, and these are people that are well respected as professionals and successful individuals in the community, but they still failed. And when I started realizing that, I started thinking, okay, well, maybe my failures aren't so bad.
Right.
I mean, these people are talking about $1 million loss, and here this is a $10,000 loss. So is it such a, is what I'm going through so bad? And so I have to use that. Every once in a while, I have to still pick myself up and say, hey, you know what? This isn't going exactly how I want to, but it didn't go the way everybody wanted to all the time.
Right.
I love saying this. It's, I told you I just turned 40. Oprah didn't even start until she's 40.
Right.
So I feel like I have several years ahead of that.
Right.
So, doubt I'll own my own network, but Oprah didn't think so either. So who knows?
Right. And I think this is one of those things that at this age, 40, 50, like, who cares what you think about me? Either you like me or you don't.
Yeah.
And you get to that point that's where the most of, that's at the peak of your life, because it's like, what you know that's an asset that you bring into the table. And if they do not know how to put you in this box, they all want to put you in this box. If they don't understand, you can be put in a box. You just call on someone else where they can really value what you bring to the table. And at the end of the day, those things really don't matter anymore. So yeah. It's a freeing experience. And I know many of the 30s or the young kids that we have watching this show, in 30 years, nobody's going to know. You're not going to have those same people. Your friends are going to be totally different. You might have one or two that you grew up, but other than that, it's like you're going to have a new life, a new set of friends, and a new set of things that you're going to do. And if people don't know, people change careers 3 times in their lives. So entrepreneur is one of those things that it happens because people think, I don't want to have a boss. I don't want to have a 9-to-5 job, but then don't understand that being the business owner, you work 24/7 sometimes, 365 days a week. So discipline and time management is very, very important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about your family. You have a son, you have a husband? I
do. So my husband's an insurance adjuster with a carrier that we don't, work with, but he and I talk business all the time. It's funny how we know the weather report better than most people do because we're always looking for the storms coming because we know we're going to have to cancel something. And then we have a now 15-year-old son that just passed his learner's permit exam. So I actually have to go, have to actually take him to the DMV now. And he actually wants to be an architect. He's an incredibly intelligent young man. He deals better with adults our age than he does with teenagers his age.
Yeah.
He's just refreshing to talk to, and it's a lot of fun. So it's kind of cool to see him so interested in a field that is aligned with me. I'm a contractor, not an architect, but we work hand in hand.
Right.
So
Right. And he's very well educated. He can have a very well conversation. I love sitting with him and just chatting a little bit. So it comes from that love that you guys have, empowering him to be who he is, and giving him that confidence that he is loved unconditionally. So I know you mentioned again, for some people that may not want, they might say like me, oh, I don't know, I don't think I've ever going to be able to write a book because of my Spanglish. But then I wrote the book because of Shirley Jump and
Jump Creative Solutions.
Jump Creative Solutions. We love you, Shirley.
We love you.
And we're going to bring you over. But tell me about your experience with Shirley. How did you write your book? Did you get together with her? Did she write your book and then you proofread it? How was your experience?
So the books are all my words. And so we have an interview and she reconstitutes my words so that they are more concise. So imagine it like this. You and I are having a fun conversation at the kitchen table, and then I'm like, oh, hold on. Don't forget that. We want to talk this. And then we go back and forth, how you and I do. We'll go way off in the left field, right?
And then we'll go,
And so then we lose the concept of the story. So what she does is she's like, pause that thought. Let's talk about this and continue this storyline so that it's more cohesive. And so it's a process that takes a while. It can take up to a year to get through, but it is incredible to be an actual author. This isn't a Chat GPT article that you write real quick to put on social media. These are my own words, my own style and personality, and my own stories. And I thought I wouldn't even have enough stories to write a book, and now we're already talking about a second book because there's so much that we left out of the first one. Because your life is really a rich tapestry. And so I did approach this differently. A lot of authors think, oh, I'm going to go out there and it's going to be a #1 hit and it's going to be Stephen King and I'm going to make millions. I'm going to tell you now, you're probably not going to make millions on your book, and that's okay. My approach was as a marketing expenditure. I wanted to tell my story, become more relatable. Like you said, I'm not that gruff contractor that everybody expects to see. It's a stereotype. Most of us are pretty cool people. I just happen to be an effective communicator and educator, and that's why I do so well in that, but I wanted to communicate that even further. We're moving into the realm of AI. We're moving into the realm of investments. We're moving into the realm of education. And so I wanted to say, how many contractors can you look up? Well, I can Google a lot. Well, how many of them have a book? Okay, well, a handful. How many of those books are about entrepreneurialism? None. They're all about, this is how you flip this house. Which, if you're flipping a house, is useful. If you're not flipping a house, it's not. So I wanted to take that and use this as a marketing tool. It's kind of like a get to know me for potential clients, potential investors, and who knows who else.
Yeah, it's the same reason I did it. And even though I mentioned some stuff about Medicare in this book, it's more of the mindset, because for me, some of my clients took me up to my latest client 12 years to get together, but it's because I was consistent and disciplined, and I continued to do networking, which is what my passion is and where I get my fix, I would call it, because of my social butterfly. I get to meet so many people through networking and share those tips and things that people can relate to in this. So yes, and it comes from my validity or credibility comes from owning the insurance agency for about 20 years. And recently, I'm working with a business coach myself. I realized that now I'm helping other people to be their own insurance agents / business owners. So all the tips that I wrote here, they can use to run a successful agency. So those things are yours, and my agents are going to be the agents that they come from to work for SNR Services, and then that's not going to be everybody neither. I tell people, leadership with a servant heart. This is going to be something where it's a calling and you invest a lot at the very beginning, but the profit will come later, because people are going to say, oh, this person has been reliable. This person has been here. I can trust that person. And insurance is all about trusting that individual.
And you said it right. It's going to take a long-term investment. So I look at this investment, and if I'm selling something, a product that's going to make me $100 one time, does this work for me? Maybe it doesn't work for me as much. But I'm selling construction projects that can be in the millions.
Right.
So if I'm not putting any advertising out and this book helps me just become an authoritative figure in something like affordable housing, then it could help me sell a $2 million project.
Right. Right.
And all of a sudden, okay, this is cheaper than billboards now. So it's about a strategy and coming to the table with an open mind, especially when you want to tell a story and somebody says, no, don't tell that story. That story is maybe not what you're trying to achieve here. Right. Not that it's a bad story, but do it this way. And you have to listen to industry experts. And that goes for anything: public relations, public speaking, marketing and advertising, finance and accounting. If you're not good at one of those things, you didn't go to school for, you didn't get your experience for one of those professionals, or hire an educated professional to do that for you and focus on what you're good at.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can go back in time and tell your younger self something, what would that be?
The winning lottery numbers.
Good one. Back to the future.
Yeah, back to the future. That's exactly right. Yeah. I thought of this a lot. Basically, just keep doing what you're doing and stay confident. Don't get discouraged, because every day you can wake up and be discouraged. It's very easy. It's much easier to be discouraged than it is to be optimistic. So you have to work twice as hard to be optimistic, but it pays off in the end.
Yeah. Awesome. So tell me a little bit more about, you found a situation that we all struggle with. We struggle this at the state level too, for the Commission on the Status of Women, which is affordable housing. Usually when we talk about problems facing not Hispanic, but Florida women in general, affordable housing come in the first three. And this is what is happening here in Tampa also. So how did you came involved in that environment, in that orbit, and now you're leading the resources and things to be able to help us with that? Yeah.
So again, it started back growing up poor. I grew up in a mobile home. It's kind of falling apart, but I had a house. I've known friends that didn't quite have a roof. And there's no shame in living in a mobile home. It's a home. It's perfectly fine to live there. If it's safe, clean, and functional. Ours was not becoming some of those things. But I realized that we have to allow for better housing options for our community, because affordable housing is kind of a stigma, right? You think, oh, it's just this poor unwed mother that has 15 kids. That's not. Do you know it's really workforce housing? Affordable housing is for firefighters, for police officers, for nurses. These individuals can't afford to live. Believe it or not, doctors in their residency make almost nothing. 20 or 30 grand. How can you live on that, working what they work 18, 20 hours a day, whatever they do, and then having to afford an apartment just to live while they're still in school, because they don't make real money until after they finish residency. And that takes a while. So we needed to bring light to this issue that affordable housing isn't just a welfare case. It's actually a situation of regular, normal people that actually need a place to live. Do you want a city of Tampa police officer living in Zephyr Hills, or the city of Tampa if there's an emergency? What's their response time if we have a catastrophic emergency like we did in 2001? It would be an hour and a half for him to get into the city limits, or her to get in the city limits, versus if they live in Tampa and they can be on their route in 10, 15 minutes. And so we have to make these considerations. And so for me, my part as a developer is I can try to cut my costs as much as possible to be as efficient as possible. And by no means are developers out there ripping people off either. They have to make a profit margin in what they're doing, but we've had exorbitant labor costs increase, material costs increase, the appreciation of land. Even finding vacant land, you used to be able to find lots for $15,000, and now you're looking at $90,000 to $100,000 just for a lot. And then the cost to construct another $200,000 or $300,000. So then an affordable house right now is $350,000 to $400,000.
Wow. Affordable
houses. That's the best we can do. So we can work on that, which is part of the reason I want to work on education so much. Is it's like, we always think about the 2x4. The 2x4, we're out of stock. We have to go to a different supplier. We have to go here. We have to source that material. And we want to load up on that material. We don't put enough effort into people as being an asset or resource. So we need to start now We need to plant those trees now like you do for the 2x4s. We need to plant those seeds in our students now to make them realize how lucrative construction can be and will be over the next generation to come.
Right.
It really, you'll look at, do I want a law degree or do I want this? And by no means do I say not go to college, because the trade professionals that have spent some time in college and gotten their trade education, they far exceed performance, because they have a better understanding of their business and concept. But we have to start with, is there a good place to sleep at night for that kid? That's affordable housing.
Yes. Okay. Do they eat, because there's a lot of those stuff that they happens because they are, literally it's kind of being in PTSD because you're struggling with those. Where am I going to get the food from? Am I going to be able to eat? Is it a safe place that I'm going to be at? Am I going to get shot in the middle of the night? Is my little brother going to get, something happening to them? Is my mom getting beat up by somebody? Those are things that our kids struggle with, and having a safe neighborhood, something that people can afford, will bring a lot of those issues. I never thought about that. Sometimes when I grew up, I was very blessed that in my country, even though now it's very dangerous, when I was there in Ecuador, we didn't have as much of the violence as it is now. And then I came to the United States where everybody was so nice, and you couldn't help yourself by being nice to people, because otherwise you were the oddball and you didn't want to be the oddball. And so sometimes I still have that naiveness of not understanding how dangerous things can be, you know?
Yeah, it can be. We still, and you already know this, but we have a lot of domestic violence that still happens. Florida is high in the nation, leading in the nation for sex trafficking. These are all women issues. They're becoming LGBT issues as well. That stuff happens around children, and children are scarred for their entire life. And if they're not taken care of early enough, if they don't have the counseling, the therapy, the good sleep, the good education early enough in life, they're going to repeat those activities in their life. They're going to become the abuser. And it all starts with a good night's sleep. It starts with a good day in school. It starts with a good meal. Those are things we can help with, but we have to stop acting like, oh, get a job. These people do have jobs. Some of them have 2 and 3 jobs, and they still can't afford someplace decent to live.
If you just said it, a nurse, which nurse has a very good income, they can afford a home. If you say that the home is $350,000, what's the mortgage? Let's put $3,500, $4,000. Who can really afford a mortgage of $4,000? And that takes 2 incomes. But if you decide that you want to be a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, what happens? It goes down to 1 income. I think one of the things for us, my husband and I, we always had 2 cars, and we never really thought going down to 1 car was going to be possible. My husband always liked his own truck and stuff like that. But right before the pandemic, we had to move, and we had to sell one of the cars to be able to have a down payment for the house. And after we sold that car, we were able to manage about 3 months without a car. And I told my husband, we don't need that car. We don't really need, it's nice to have 2 cars, but we really don't need 2 cars. And during the pandemic, we didn't need it. And then now we really will not be able to afford a second car. We will not be able to afford a second insurance on the car. Those are the sacrifices you made. And I'm a professional. My husband is a professional. And but those are the cuts that you have to do to be able to live a life that that you can afford your home and you can afford all the things. Food. Gosh, food is $600 if you go to, and it's 2 of us. So we have even thought about, we used to eat out a lot. We don't eat out as much anymore. So those are the things. It's not just a person that is coming from a different, I would say a less of money environment, right? Our economic level of environment, that's everybody. Everybody have to adjust to what you want to do and your priorities. So we have a few more minutes, and I just wanted to, what would be if you're talking to an entrepreneur, and because your book is about, even though it's about your background in construction, it is about being a successful entrepreneur. What would be a tip that you would tell a person that is probably just starting and saying, I really want to do this, but I don't know where to start and I don't know what to expect.
You got to get out and meet people. You have to get out and network. You're going to be very uncomfortable at first, and that's okay. We were all very uncomfortable at our first networking event, at our first 15, at our first 20 networking events. On occasion, and I'm sure you feel like this, sometimes you don't feel the vibe in the room, even though you're a pro, I'm a pro. And sometimes you don't like, I'm just not feeling this room. But you get out there, because when people start correlating you as being involved in the community, they want to get to know you and they want to know about your services and what you're doing. More so than that, not even as a sales tool, you have no idea who can help you with investments, who can help you with services. You're going to need that accountant. How are you going to find them? Well, maybe it's somebody that's showing up in the community all the time. And my biggest pro tip on networking is, if you're afraid, and a lot of us were when we first started, seek out the host or organizer as soon as you arrive. As soon as you say, hello, I'm Tommy, I'm new to this, I don't really quite know what to do, but I just wanted to meet some people and I'm taking a leap of faith here, you are always going to find a host that says, let me introduce you to. They're going to introduce you to 5 people that are going to introduce you to more people, and all of a sudden you're not going to be able to meet everybody by the end of the night, because you're going to start meeting people. If you stand in the corner hiding on your phone, you're not going to get anywhere. Realize it's uncomfortable, but you just think about how bad you want this for your business.
Right.
And if you want it to succeed that bad, you got to push yourself outside your comfort zone.
Yeah. Networking for courageous people, right? So where can people find you?
TommyWhitehead.com. I know I made that easy, and I'm sure we can put that in the comments. That is where you'll find my book. You'll find all my social handles, some of the media appearances I've had. You can find me at tomcosolutions.com to see more about my company. And I have a podcast, Tommy's Toolbox, the podcast, that's also available on YouTube and Spotify. So I'm pretty findable, and I'm a big LinkedIner. Most people that send me a connection, I definitely accept that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for visiting us. And one thing that Tommy says that it really resonates for me, and one of the reasons why I love to be at the check-in table at the networking events, is because I get to greet everybody. I get to greet the people that sometimes are shy and they don't feel comfortable in the room. But hey, listen, it takes if networking is for courageous people, and courageous doesn't mean that you're not afraid of something. It's just whatever is ahead of that fear that you're overcoming is more important. So my friends, thank you so much for watching another show of Cafecito with Rosie. Check us out in cafecitowithrosie.com, rosiepaulsen.com. And remember, we were created to be successful. You were created for a purpose that only you can fulfill. So stay pure, stay positive, and stay inspired. Ciao.